Hey class, I'm going to go over the practice from yesterday and get you started on the review for today. So you should have your workbook, and I'm going to go through and actually just do the problems with you in front of you to go over them. So you should have your workbook and be giving yourselves checks as you go, and also kind of talk you through the explanation for how to get these answers if you had any confusion. I did the first three pretty much together with you yesterday. Even the fourth one I worked out and got 5 3/4, which hopefully you know is 5 75 hundredths. If you didn't, we could figure out what hundredths would be by multiplying by 25 on the top and the bottom. 9 62 thousandths is this, but it says in simplest form. So D would be the correct answer we're looking for, because that would be that fraction simplified. Number 6 is straightforward multiplication. I'll put my multiplication on here so you guys can take a look and see if you agree. I certainly recommend whenever you do a problem like this to work it out on your own, and then I haven't even looked at the options yet, but when I get my answer, if I see one of the choices, which I do, I can feel confident that, all right, I probably did that correctly, didn't make any careless mistakes, and I can confidently choose the correct answer. Continuing, number 7. Here's an efficient way to do number 7. 84 divided by 400 is a fraction, right? Because I know fractions are division. And so I can simplify this, and 4 goes into 84 21 times. So it's going to be 21 hundredths, which I see quickly is the answer. None of the other three options really make any sense, right? This is 84 hundredths. And then these other two are bigger than a whole, which if you understood fractions there, division, that wouldn't make sense. 16p plus 5 minus 3p minus 2. If you remember when we did these, we talked about combining the like terms, the parts that are the same. We can subtract 16p minus 3p and get 13p. And then 5, positive 5, minus 2 would be plus 3. Because overall, that's still plus, right? So 13p plus 3. I remember some of you having a little difficulty with recognizing, where the minus comes into play on these. So if you missed that one, see if it makes sense to you now, and you can always check with me individually at office hours if you have a question. Number 9, for what value of y is the inequality 4y minus 8 greater than 10 true? A couple options. We could just try numbers. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 8 is greater than 10. No. 16 minus 8 is greater than 10. No. So it's going to be the big one. 5 is certainly the answer. Another strategy is recognizing that you can kind of solve this like an equation. If we add 8 to both sides, 4y is greater than 18. So if we divide that, y has to be greater than 18 fourths, which is 4 1/2. So the answer has to be something greater than 4 1/2, and 5 is the only answer that's possible. Number 10, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections out of 8/16 sections. I know that 4/16 is 1/4, so a quarter is 25%. Number 11, a nice strategy for this one would be, I know 1% of 500 is 5, because that's a really easy percent to find. And if 1% is 5, then 8% would be 8 times 5, which would get me 40, so $40. Number 12, immediately I know that the opposite angle is equal, and then the angle next to it must add up to 180 degrees. So 105 plus what equals 180? 75. All right, hopefully you're checking these as we go. Number 13, we talked about this fairly recently. The two shorter sides must add up to more than the long side. So 5 plus 3 is not as big as 11. 5 plus 6 is equal to 11, so that's not going to work. And then 5 plus 11 is equal to 16, so that doesn't work. 12 is the only length in which each of the shorter sides are going to add up to more than the long side. Number 14, we talked about trapezoids recently, and the angles next to each other must add up to 180. So 82 plus 26 is 108. 108 plus 72 is equal to 180. Number 15, this is volume if we're looking for centimeter cubes. And so volume is length times width times height. 5 times 12 is 60. 60 times 21 is 1260. So 1,260 unit cubes would fit in there. Which of these nets can form a triangular prism? A pyramid, excuse me. This would be a triangular prism. This is some weird shape that doesn't look like any of the nets we've talked about. This is a possible net for a cylinder, and then this would be the triangular pyramid. All right, and then your last two pages that you did yesterday, the ratio. Did you figure out this ratio problem? A to B is 3 to 5. So one of the keys here is recognizing that you can make another ratio of 5, which is B, to 8, which would be the total, those two added together. That's helpful because it tells us the total of the two buckets is 56. So 8 is to 56 times by 7, as 5 times 7 would give us 35 liters. All right. Number 18, this is 12 and 325 thousandths. Written in expanded form would be 12 plus 3 tenths plus 2 hundredths plus 5 thousandths. Number 19, hopefully you remembered that when we divide by a power of 10, it's just moving the decimal over a certain number of places. So 10, 100, 1,000. This one could have given you some trouble if you didn't remember that, but that would be a nice quick way to figure it out. 20, I'm guessing, wasn't too tricky for you, although you may have made a careless mistake. 11 is the smallest, 11 and 9 thousandths, 11 and 5 hundredths, and 11 and 1/10 or 10 hundredths. 21 may have been the toughest on these pages, in my opinion, if you didn't figure out a good strategy. 3/8 of the regular price of a digital watch is $21. The price of the digital watch after discount is $21. So we want to find what the price is before the discount. Since I know it's 3/8, that ratio is going to remain the same. 3/8 is to 21 over something times 3 by 7 to get 21. So 8 times 7 would give me the original price, which is $56. Some of you may have figured that out a different way, but I think that might be the most efficient. And then 22 and 23, hopefully we're not too tricky. I labeled immediately what the different numbers were. It's a good place to start. And then that helped me find the answers. The largest difference is playing basketball because that appears to be a difference of 12. And then the difference between boys and girls playing tennis is 20 minus 12, which was 8 boys. All right, so we're going to skip over the next page. You know, you certainly can do that for practice, but I think I'd like to focus on 212 and 213 next. I'll get you guys started. Number 30 says ABCD is a parallelogram and ADE is an equilateral triangle. Identify all the angles that have the same measure as F. Well, immediately you should know that angle B has the same measure as F. because it's opposite. And then you should know that angle A and C also have to have the same angle as F, because they have the same angle as B, because all of these must be 60. Once I know this is 60, then I know that this angle is 120, which means that G is the same angle as F and B. And what do you know? Angle E is also the same, 60 degrees. So a lot of those angles are the same. Number 31, Brian has $50. He buys 10 similar books and has X dollars left. What's the strategy we talk about with this? Try out a number. Let's say he buys 10 similar books and he has $10 left. Okay, that means that he spent $40, right? And each book must have been $4 each, right? I'm just looking for an expression. What is the cost of each book? So how would I make that expression? I'm going to do 50 minus the amount I have left divided by the 10 books that I bought. That would equal $4 for each book. So that would be one way to show that expression. All right, a couple more. 2 flat surfaces, a curved surface, and no edges, no vertices. Hopefully you're immediately thinking that this has to be some sort of a cylinder cone type shape. And since it has 2 flat surfaces, this is a cylinder. I think you guys are good with 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. And then I want you to do 214 and 215. Okay, and that's where you can stop for today. All right, so give these word problems a try, and that'll be your last review and practice from the workbook. And then we're going to take a look at your final test tomorrow. All right, good luck. See you later.